Hey everybody, I am here with Chris Staser. So what is your official role?
The Director of Ministry Operations with BLOC Ministries.
Director of Ministry Operations.
Yes.
I hear bigwig when I
Yeah, not
hear
big
this.
wig. That's not. Like you make me look too good.
All right.
It is day-to-day stuff.
All right.
Leader
So
of the day-to-day stuff.
here with BLOC, we love that not only do we get to share a city with BLOC, we get to share several of us a neighborhood with BLOC. I get the privilege of being able to do some training and some assistance with BLOC. Tell us a little about why you love BLOC.
Yeah, the just even from the get-go, the thing that I'll kind of like live and die on, as far as I can see, is we live where we serve.
Yeah.
So I live in the middle of Price Hill. Those are my neighbors. They're not my clients. They're not my people who just come to our programs. That's my neighbor. And is the switch. You view problems a little bit differently. You view them differently as a person. You don't see them as something to be fixed, but a person to love and to be in a relationship with. So for me, that's the root level for me.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I've always just had a passion for people who are poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whether that be poor in finances, poor in relationships, poor in you name it, like mental, emotional skills. So I've always gravitated towards that, even at a younger age. So that's why BLOC for me.
Yeah.
And it was, to me, the easiest way to be like Jesus. So when I'm living in it, I gravitate towards more of the organic than I do organized.
Yeah.
So things that are more just like everyday life type of things.
Highly relational.
Highly relational.
Yeah.
I mean, I like you have to have structured things. That's not. But on the organic side of things, just step outside my door. I'm saying, hey, Mr. Derek, and there's Miss Betty, and then there's the twins. You know, I love that.
So when something happens on your block, the next day you're out talking to, you're impacted the same way your neighbors are.
Yeah.
By something, I mean just, something tragic, something difficult,
right.
something hard.
Yeah. I think, I think without a doubt, I'm seeing the same thing that they're seeing. So 2 weeks ago, we had someone murdered right in front of our house.
Okay.
So there we are as a family.
Yeah.
Seeing this, and it's what my neighbors are seeing. Everybody's everybody kind of rushes outside, and they're all there, and the cops are there. And, I think there is this separation of we have different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I try to get that, but when it comes to just everyday life, we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I think it adds a different dimension to what you do when you live in it.
Yeah. So that be like Jesus thing you just mentioned. This is the way to be like Jesus. When you mention living where you serve, takes me to John 1.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's Eugene Peterson that translates 14. You probably know it, right?
John 1:14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Peterson's, the way he says it?
The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood.
Yeah. God moved into the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's for my boys, I have 4 little boys.
Yes.
And that is one of our scripture memorizations.
With them. That particular
version.
Peterson's.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So why is that?
I think living in the neighborhood is that important, and I think being Jesus in whatever context you're in is that important. Kind of the flesh and blood, whatever your neighborhood is. I think your literal neighbor means a lot, not just
abstract neighbor.
Yeah, not just abstract neighbor.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that, but I wanted that to be a value for my kids at a young age. I like that phrasing. I've even said just be proximate.
Okay, yeah, as in being in proximity to.
Yeah, proximity to the pain, proximity to relationships, whatever.
Beautiful.
Be close to that, and I just want my boys to see that God advocates for that.
Yeah, whether that's them in this neighborhood or as they grow and go.
Doesn't matter. Or,
whatever neighborhood you're in.
Or you work at P&G and you just get really proximate to the people who are in your office building.
Yeah.
Or what? I mean, whatever that is. Like, I'm just such a believer in move into, in the name of Jesus, move into where you're going.
Right. Yep. So, so that is all part of some of the language we have at Praxis.
Mm-hmm.
Is we may say we want to be Jesus-centered.
Yeah.
There are times I'll use the phrase rabidly Jesus-focused.
Yeah.
And the whole word rabid I like just because you picture like frothing at the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
like insane.
Yeah, intense.
Yeah, all it means is we just want to be serious.
Yeah.
We say it this way: we want to take Jesus seriously.
Yeah.
and it's, I mean, taking Jesus seriously enough to live in a neighborhood where you are different than most of the neighborhood, at least socioeconomically, if not ethnically, right? Yep. And so, and that live where you serve thing is a thing that can be, for us, I know you and I have talked about it, that anybody can then serve where they live, right?
Yeah.
Being proximate, maybe just being proximate to where you are in this moment.
Yeah, I've been telling people recently, and this is kind of theoretical, but it's practical for me. Like, with all the racial stuff and all the political divisiveness and all those things,
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you're proximate,
mm-hmm.
those issues like go to the wayside.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that they don't matter.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I am white living on a street in a neighborhood where I am the minority.
Yes. Yep.
And I can't discount that, like, I look different,
mm-hmm.
and like my stuff looks a little different.
Yeah.
I get that. But most of the people on our street would just, like, you might have had intentional conversations with them. You're just my neighbor.
Yeah.
And that's been used, like, over and over and over. And it's
Yeah.
like, I think all those issues become a lesser entity when you just live in it, because they're like, oh, you've been here a while.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when you've been there years, they're like, oh, you're just Chris and you're just Kelsey and you love me and you're my neighbor.
Right.
And it doesn't, all the other things don't become such a big deal.
And it sort of seems to me that was Jesus' intent. So when he creates a specific spiritual community,
mm-hmm.
of the phrase we use is trainees, apprentices.
Yeah.
So when he says, come follow me and I will make you fishers of people.
Yep.
That fishers of people is an idiom for teachers. It's like, I'm going to train you to do what I do
mm-hmm.
and be like I am. And when he does that, he picks people who are extraordinarily different than each other.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got, in those days, people who we would identify as very, very right.
Uh-huh.
Right? A tax collector.
Mm-hmm.
Working with the empire.
Yep.
And very, very left, right? A zealot. Somebody who's willing to kill
yep.
for their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he brings them all to the table.
Intelligent, not intelligent. I mean, educated, not educated, whatever. Like,
Matthew being an educated person for sure, most likely. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, it seems to me that it's in relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the knowing of one another.
Yeah.
And the loving of one another is where, not that those issues go by the wayside, it's just people matter more than a disembodied issue, right?
Right. And I think people are more likely to look past those issues.
Yeah.
When they know they're loved.
Yeah.
And
so
yeah.
For you, what I've heard is that, Jesus is a target in a sense and a motivator here, right?
Oh yeah.
Is a significant thing. Where does that come from for you? Like, when did that start, or has there been a moment where it sort of started to congeal?
Yeah, I think latter college years, 22,
mm-hmm.
around that age. I just started thinking how I wanted to be remembered.
Yeah.
How I wanted my life to look like. And I started recognizing I'd rather just have a life well lived than I would have these big moments of preaching or fill in the blank.
You don't want thousands of people.
I mean, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just felt like if you lived a good life, and I mean a good life in the sense of if you loved really well the people who are in front of you.
Yeah.
That will reach much further and have a deeper impact. So that probably started that, and I was I don't know, I just had struggles with probably traditional church,
mm-hmm.
traditional ways of things. And
okay.
so I had an angst there. I'm not
Yeah.
I had that, and I moved into a neighborhood in Cincinnati, Lower Price Hill at the time.
Yeah.
And
Which is a very small neighborhood,
mm-hmm.
Very compact, dense,
Right.
poor, and very little resource at that time, for sure.
And at the time, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember being like this is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I've been looking for.
Yep.
And this is what I would give my life for.
Yep.
Pretty early on. And I one of the boys I got really close with, I got really close to one family. I took him to Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is running through the park, slips, falls, and cracks his head.
Yeah.
Back on it. Take him home. I'm like, hey, just let you know, Sean fell on his head.
Yeah.
And his mom calls me not long after. They'd in a car.
Yeah.
And said, can you take us to the hospital?
Yeah.
So I took him to the hospital. And then she's like, honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed. Will you just go back into the emergency room with my family?
Yeah.
And that was it was the moments of investing in relationship over years where you get to the moment where they're asking you to go into their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that all came from I lived there.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge turn. At the same time, I was reading a book. I've always had a draw towards Mother Teresa, which I know is an extreme, but there's a book by Malcolm Muggeridge called Something Beautiful for God.
Okay.
About him him interacting with Mother Teresa and then his experience of that.
Yeah.
So I was reading that during the time. It was stirring me a little bit.
Is this the guy who says she told him to find his own Calcutta? Is that language?
It probably is.
Okay. Yeah.
He became pretty close with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that book it just shifted me in my journey spiritually.
Yeah.
It kind of took me from A to B.
Okay. Yep.
And then I was living in it, and this makes sense to me.
So it all kind of came together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your hopes and dreams when it comes to following Jesus in the neighborhood? What are your dreams for people, for the community, you, your family, however that resonates?
Yeah, there's obviously big things that I'd love to see for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I tend to lean towards I like leadership type things, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I know that.
Yeah.
And I found out probably 5 to 7 years in that you can push that stuff all you want,
mm-hmm.
but people only go as far as they heal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And healing is a lot of different things, but I would love to see a counseling office, a free counseling resource center in Price Hill.
Yeah. I
would love to see more and more jobs.
Yeah.
I think that trades here would go a long way, and jobs in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not outside of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So those are too big. Those are two big ideas, and I'd love to see more than that in different parts of the city.
Yeah.
Impacted more people. I would say just more people living here.
Right.
Who aren't looking to push people out, but just looking to love the person that's in it.
Yeah.
It's unique because my kids are growing up in this,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't grow up in that.
Right.
And so that's this is almost like an experiment that I'm looking to see what's the good and bad that comes out of it.
They may really have two different languages and two different cultures.
Definitely.
Naturally, right? That you don't have by nature.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are things with that. My boys have grown up around adoption and just people who look different. They don't seem, and they're young, but they don't seem to see some of the things that
mm-hmm.
somewhere where I'm from might see.
Yeah.
So that's part of my hopes and dreams. I really like all the good things whether it be counseling centers or soup kitchens or food pantries, all that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I ultimately I want people to see Jesus in their own language and way.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's the last question is if we talk about being Jesus centered.
Yeah.
What is that looking like for you now, or what can you imagine that looking like for you or your leadership, your staff?
Yeah. For me personally, I know there's some newer rhythms. So Sabbath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is a big one. I'm in a pronounced way.
Yeah.
You know, not just hey, we just take off Sundays. We don't work on Sundays.
Yeah.
In a very as a family, we practice Sabbath.
Yeah. Something Jesus did.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
I like started recognizing in the book of Mark specifically,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus seems to be tucking away a lot.
Yep.
A lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
So I'm doing like kind of a prayer 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like a daily office type thing.
Right. We talk about this as like when you're with God, it's enjoying time with God.
Right. And
He
He
wants to enjoy being with you. You're enjoying
right.
being with Him.
I'm looking at it different too. Like it is like this time with.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a like time to go and ask for things kind of thing. Although that might be a piece of it.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
But it's like it is a.
It's being with Him.
It's with. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's like been a little bit more like just I'm being trying to be aware of, like I say the prayer, like show me the faces of the people you want me to love today.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty aware of like what is it that I can do today, and there are days where it seems like not much goes by where it's like anything out of an ordinary.
Yeah.
And then there are days that do. So,
which is again, Jesus. You continually see in our language is He's doing good for the world. He is showing and telling the good news all the time. Right.
Yep.
It could be a healing. It could be He's just teaching out of nowhere.
Oh,
yeah.
I think just a smiling face sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I know that's a small thing,
Yep.
but just kindness and
hospitality. Right.
Oh yeah, like
sharing meals,
waving at people. Yeah. I think that goes a long way. Like because a lot of people don't do that in our neighborhood, or they're ignored.
I grew up in a rural county where you just waved at people,
right?
That you didn't know. If you're driving by somebody on a porch, they raise their hand and you raise your hand. I've done that here. I get weird looks.
I know, like that. I can remember sitting down at the bus stop and I just waved at every car that went by when I was into my driveway.
Yeah, it's just normal.
It was normal. Yeah, and that's what everybody did. But like just a welcoming face, invitational
almost an
face.
Openness, right?
Yeah, like an openness and.
That's beautiful.
So, and we put 2 rocking chairs on our front porch.
Yeah.
And like even last year I had a kid who lived in the neighborhood forever. He's not a kid anymore, and just came and sat down. And we sat on the front porch.
That's great.
So I know like the front porch is really the living room in our neighborhood.
And that's one of the big differences between having lived in suburbia and now living in West Price-Hill. The difference is moving from we used to be on the front porch.
Yep.
Right, and then we created big back decks and we hide back there.
Yep.
But in the city, it's front porch life.
It definitely is, and there's like nuances. Like if people do come to your house, like paper plates.
Yeah,
those things could just make people feel welcome. But
yeah,
I'm trying to think what else. Like, just personally.
Now these are all the rhythms. When we talk about practicing the rhythms of Jesus.
Yeah.
3 core rhythms. One was enjoying life with God.
Yep.
Right. Another was doing that together with others, spiritual community. And then he was out doing and being good for the world, right? Yep. And it sounds like exactly in miniature the life you're trying to live.
Yeah.
But also then trying to orchestrate throughout the ministry.
Yeah. I think there was when I started recognizing that there are a few relationships that I'm just going to invest a lot more in.
Yeah.
Because I think the tendency, at least with an invitational personality like mine, is just like a wide net.
Yep.
But there are a few that I give more to. And
Good.
I'm more intentional about that now than I was even 6 months, a year ago.
Yep.
So those things, and that's been life-giving.
Fantastic.
Healthier now than I was then, probably. COVID was good for me.
Very good. Yeah.
I'd say that in general. COVID was good.
I always start with saying I'm privileged to say COVID was.
Yeah, I know it has. So
exactly.
Did it?
But I felt the same way. There are ways
speaking,
that I have benefited from.
I'm not talking about financially
down
necessarily.
or being less. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's for me. That has been.
No, that's great to hear. Though.
Yeah.
But if you're healthy, you're coming out of that. That is fantastic.
Yep. So I felt like it almost catapulted me to a good place.
Yep.
Not that I was drowning before, but when I got out of that, I went, oh man, like in a much better place. So. Yes.
All right. Let's finish with this. So one last question: is there a verse that comes to mind to you, either currently that is spinning in your head, or one that's just sort of been motivating to you, or inspiring to you, or foundational for you?
Yeah, 1 John 2:6 is my life verse.
Yep.
So we have a mezuzah in our house.
Yeah, bless you.
Yeah. Which
I know what a mezuzah is.
yeah, it's a Jewish thing. Where
Yep.
every Jewish home had it was basically this wooden box on their door frame, and when you left it, your door every day, you hit that.
Yep.
They had usually a verse in it, but I put 1 John 2:6 in that, which is those who say they know God should walk the way Jesus walks.
Beautiful. Those who say they know God
Should walk the way Jesus walks.
Beautiful.
So that's like what I put as our family kind of verse. That's
Beautiful.
my personal that is like my encapsulating verse for me. But
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds great. All right.
Thank you.
We'll keep trying to walk as Jesus walks.
absolutely.
All right. Grace and peace, everybody.